I really enjoy being in nature, hiking and being outside, and it's amazing to be able to walk outdoors and be able to understand the ecosystem that you're in. The trees around us, they're all deciduous trees, which means they drop their leaves in winter. And in winter, they're not dead, they're just dormant. The dormant season has typically not been evaluated very much because it was thought that nothing was going on. What we've been showing is that what's going on in winter is really important for the functioning of trees in the following growing season. Around here, where we experience a large snowpack in the winter, it's known and it's projected that the snowpack is going to get smaller in the future. And so we'd like to understand how that impacts forest ecosystems. We have two ongoing experiments, one at Hubbard Brook in New Hampshire, and in Massachusetts we're working at Harvard Forest. So at both places we have a set of reference plots and snow manipulation plots. So our controls are basically plots where we don't do any manipulation, and our treatment plots are the ones where we remove snow, and then we compare the two. Every time it snows at the beginning of winter, for about the first 4 weeks, we shovel. We are trying to mimic a later snowpack. And this is a condition that plant roots and other organisms that live in the soil are not adapted to, because it's somewhat counterintuitive, but the snow acts like a blanket. The roots are being protected by the snow when there's a lot of snow on the ground. The insects in the ground have a home where they're being insulated and they're warm.
If you have long enough periods of time when there's no snowpack, but you still get below freezing air temperatures, then the soils freeze to a much greater depth and for a much longer duration than they currently do. And since these systems are not adapted to such a soil frost dynamic, we're sort of uncertain as to how they'll respond. This looks like bark or a rock, but really it's just frozen soil. In a normal winter, only the first maybe ½ inch or so would look like this. This year, this is like this down to about 15 centimeters.
This has been an unusually warm winter, and we didn't get as much snow as we've gotten in previous years. The soils here are frozen to 5 inches. In a typical year, if the soils froze at all, it would be an inch or less. Both Hubbard Brook and Harvard Forest are long-term ecological research sites. They've been measuring chemistry since the 1960s, and it's from that record we can see that the snowpack has been getting smaller over time. Andy, you got the light cord? This is a year-round effort. We take measurements in all seasons. In the growing season in summer, we have students looking at all sorts of things like insect abundance, tree physiology, and then exchange of carbon from the canopy as well as the soils, anywhere between weekly to bi-weekly basis. Specifically, we're looking at nitrogen uptake because it's an important nutrient for trees, water, and carbon uptake by trees as well. And so by measuring continuously rates of water uptake, we can then, using different measurements that we have in the forest, we can scale up and convert water uptake to carbon exchange. There are a variety of measurements we make directly in the field. We also collect a lot of samples that we bring back to our lab. If trees don't grow as well under winter climate change, their ability to grow might be diminished. We collect leaves in the fall, we collect wood samples, root samples, and we bring them back to the lab and measure their carbon content as well as nutrient status.
We found that the plants were taking up 46 to 55% less nitrogen compared to our reference trees.
If the tree's roots are being damaged and they can't take up as much nitrogen, this could impact other processes going on within trees, such as their ability to take up carbon. And this could create a big positive feedback, because if the trees don't take up as much carbon, there's more carbon left in the atmosphere to lead to more warming, smaller snowpack, greater soil frost. These trees act like a sponge, and so if there's pollutants in the air, pollutants in the water, they take those up and store it in their biomass. And so if anything changes in the environment, such as winter climate, to negatively impact them, they're not going to be able to perform these things as well, which is going to have negative consequences for our air quality, our water quality, as well as the organisms that are living in these ecosystems.